Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world today, you're at the new way. I'm Dr. Lenny Time, and I'm going to be your host here. And I'm just going to ramble a little while because the new way involves taking everything we knew and weighing it again. We are a member of the Virtually Not Alone network, and I am doing branding that I will be calling Conversations with Time, in which I go one on one with some hefty influence peddlers, getting them to explain what they're up to and how it fits with my conception of the new world. The new world chaos, not the new world order. Okay, so now that we've done all our branding and you know who I am, I welcome you to let me know when you want to come for a visit because each of you has an important voice in this collection of the whole. I have become involved with a group of people who are working on connected human superintelligence. And we're debating whether to let AI in on the game or not. But you see, it's already rigged because they've decided to let AI in on the game. And so we really don't have a choice. But how we use AI is going to become very critical in our applications of reality. And if I can work an AI system to where it's collecting data that goes into a spreadsheet that we can then look back at a video and say how that video was going, we're in good shape because then we don't have to watch the video in order to get the information. But I have a feeling that we're going to have to tease out the information because what everybody knows just isn't all correct. What I know is not correct, but I can base my knowledge on the work that I've done to acquire the knowledge and my comprehension of how the puzzle pieces all fit together to form a real nice shape that everybody recognizes or something. You never know how that works because everybody's doing their dance and giving you thumbs up and trying real hard to express their opinion on things that when you get down to it, we really don't know about. I've been working in chemistry my whole life, so I have a chemist's perspective of the balance of yin and yang, the energy flow, and the measurements that it takes to understand all this. And so my group theory is it's a version of taking chemistry and applying it to sociology so that the product sociochemistry should follow the same mathematical rules as chemistry because sociology is in the same level relative to other studies in the B group as chemistry is in the C group. Now, the A group is the humanities, the B group is we'll call them arts, but it's things like sociology, psychology, economics, and other soft sciences. And then C is the hard sciences, and D is the collection of everything else that they don't deem it fit to teach us any longer. But in reality, if we take time and melt back into ourselves, we can get to the point where we can learn in any environment because we can take our learning environment and create it as a live action role play in which we have a role to play. Now, group theory involves order and levels. The order of a group is the size scale that we're working on. First order is human scale. Second order starts at 5 or 8 people, and I call that functional group scale. The next scale after that is 21 to 35 people, and that's when we're going to start really addressing some of these problems and working things out. I'm going to bring on my friend Bruce because Bruce has arrived. Bruce, we're live.
Oh, what was that you said? Back to reality?
Well, you see, reality, we never were in reality in the first place.
No, I
So
mean
each
it's
of
an
our
alternate
reality is
reality, right?
unique. What was that?
It's an alternate reality.
I think so. I
Yeah,
think we have many alternate realities, but the object is to be the best person who we are in each reality. And the realities shift each other sideways. But I can sit here and watch a woodpecker on my porch because I put out food into the bird feeder. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. We did get snow overnight, enough that I could tell it snowed, but within the next hour it'll be gone.
yeah.
Welcome to March.
Yeah, March 1st. How about that, huh? Amazing.
Pretty amazing how time manages to pass.
Yeah,
Yesterday was the big extravaganza of the hedronist meeting.
yeah. Did you get any feedback on that?
A little bit from Asha, who said that they're going to carry on in subsequent weeks and they will be able to zoom in with some of us remote members if we wish to participate.
Cool.
But I only got that through an email that was sent to the whole group as a summary.
Yeah,
And it won't be until I actually talk to individual people that I'll have an idea of how it went.
yeah. As I said, as I told you, I sent an email to Dan Shaw, but I never heard back from him, and I totally forgot that it was yesterday. I knew that it was on the 29th, but I just sort of spaced it out.
Well, I had my sauna scheduled for 1:30 yesterday because it got postponed from Tuesday. But yesterday was a horrible weather day,
Yeah.
and I just did not want to hike into town in the rain to take a sauna that's an outdoor extravaganza, really. So you come out of the sauna and you're in the cold rain. That's not really a problem. There's bathtubs and water there. But things like where do you stash your clothes become a real problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was rambling at the video because I was sitting in the room alone and thought it was time to get started. And I'm talking about the group theory because I found a new group that's called Chizzy. And it's a creative human intelligence group. And I have to feel that if one group like that is forming, there's probably hundreds of groups forming in different places all over.
Sure.
And I do not necessarily buy into the group's purpose. I'm still learning about that, but it is a higher order group than I've been working with. And so I can apply my group theory mathematics to the videos that they're making. And whereas when I apply it to mathematics here, it's you, me, and Harris, and maybe another person. And so the groups don't get very big. There, the group number has been up to 17 during a 2 hour period. And
It's going to
so,
be hard to manage, I would think.
not managing, I'm just counting.
Oh, right. I understand, but I mean,
It's
for whoever is the person, who's running the group, it's got to be kind of hard to manage. I would think.
it is, and it's a synergistic group that combined from two separate groups coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who leads group A is a person who I just met who is very much on the same level as I am in education and talking about things and looking at different stuff, but he looks at different stuff. And the person in the B group is somebody who I met on Discord a while back and developed a friendship with. And we've been talking about education and education strategies. And he's mid 30s. So I'm treating him like he was a grad student working for me and giving him assignments that if he can do will help me develop this group theory. And the group theory is part of the sociochemistry agenda, and it's got 8 levels to it. And it works by emerging growth. And a group with a dozen people or more is only a second order group. And I've got it projected to 8th order group, and that would get us up into the 100,000s. I can easily project it up higher, but it doesn't pay because there's a lot of work to do in groups of levels of order 1, 2, and 3. And you by yourself is a first level, first order group. The two of us are a first level, third order group. No, actually, we're a fourth order. No, we're a third order group. When we add Harris, we become a fourth order group.
Okay.
But we don't get to be a fifth order group until we get 5 people in the room. And you'll notice I have controlled this series of conversations to the point where we haven't had 5 people in the room yet.
Right. Four is the most that I can recall.
Right. And so I reset the scale at 5 to 1. And so 5 is mapped to 1, 8 is mapped to 1, 13 is mapped to 2, and 21 is mapped to 3. So you, me, and Harris would be the first order group, and equivalent to that on the second order would be a group of more than 21 people. So we're not getting through second order group for a while, but just the fact that I've got some second order groups starting and can do some measurements in that allows me to figure out where I'm going with the third level of the game. And third level, starting at 13 or 21 people and working up, would have an ending of 55 to 89. Not quite a community group, but a group big enough to deal with multiple issues in a one package deal. And I figure if we can get third order groups going within the next 2 years, we'll have no problem having an all-inclusive group of humanity that grows as people join in. But it's going to take years. It's not going to be tomorrow we have a 6th level group. But then again, I look at my scoring system, and some of the people have enough followers on YouTube to be 6th, 7th, or 8th order in what they're doing. But it's not organized in any way, shape, or form that I give it credit for anything. And in the world today, we live in a very backwards, upside down society. So the more people you pour into a group, the more power it has. And the people who are groups of one who are multi-billionaires spend some of their money to build these massively huge groups of people who help them get their way in places where they should not be and do not belong.
Right. I don't know. I confess that I am probably more drawn to a vastly smaller group, and I don't care about the big numbers at all. I just don't care about it. I think that, because of the culture that we have grown up in, which is based on numbers and money and corruption and etc. Um, I think it's easily it's understandable that you would be inclined to want to create a large group when in reality we could probably do have better conversations, never mind solve anything, but have better conversations with a small group, um, rather than trying to manage a larger group of a bunch of individuals, some of whom are going to be oddballs and freaks and jokers and etc.
Yeah, I think it should work like an accordion, where when you're dealing with an issue to figure it out, it should be a real small group. And as you start figuring out, you bring more people in and widen the group to get ideas, and then you squeeze it shut and get back to your core and figure out which of the ideas you liked and which of the ideas you didn't like, and then open up the accordion again and get some more ideas. And each
Yeah.
time the accordion grows, it opens up just a little bit wider and becomes more inclusive. But one of the biggest flaws we have in the system today is that the individual human has absolutely no standing. So you or I, unless we are exceptional and get extremely lucky and have true focus, can't really change much of anything. And you
I don't
can't
know
go
how
into a
we're going to change
courtroom and deal
anyway.
with a judge. There's no status of you talking to the judge and explaining what you did and them applying the law legitimately, because the law is not the law. The law is just a way of clubbing people to get them to accept your authoritarian rule. And right now, I don't accept any authoritarian rules.
As far as I'm concerned, the corruption is the law at this point in this country, and with some regards in the whole world. Corruption.
No, in the whole world, because
Yeah,
we have Harris, who's not in this country,
correct.
talking with us on the same topics
Hmm.
that everyone else talks about. And the true insanity is the picture of duplicity that they're giving people to get them to align against other people so that they can pit different groups against each other and let them beat each other up and then come in and clean up the leftovers. But it's really, really important for people to have conversations with a few other people and listen, and then represent that small group in the next level up, the next order up, as we get comfortable talking about things that are going to be difficult. Because I'll tell you right now, you get me into a conversation with some of these woke people, and it isn't going to be a conversation because we won't even agree on the language that we can use in order to speak together. And so I'm not dealing with any small groups of people except people I know. But as the groups get larger, they're going to be groups that merge together from different directions. And I want to get scoring so that I have a bot. This is a role for the AI that I can accept, where the bot watches the video and calculates how much each person spends talking in the video. And if you and I complete this video and we're 60-40 in our talking ratio, it was a pretty good balanced conversation. And if it's more like me talking 75% and you talking 25%, in some cases, if I'm explaining something, it might happen. It might happen the other way if you're explaining something. But as you get to the point where it's one person giving a monologue and nobody else speaking, that might work in a group of two for a short period of time. It doesn't work in any bigger groups. And so you have to have it in a group. If you're getting 10 or 12 people together, there has to be a limit on how much people can say, and a way of cutting into the conversation and letting people know that you have something to say. But what I've found is that if you just blurt it out and say it and don't worry about the line and the people waiting and that, your question gets addressed. Whereas if you have your hand up and you're waiting, 15 minutes later, it's your turn to speak, and what you were going to speak to is moot and gone. And
Yeah, it's
so
pretty easy for it to disappear. And in our conversations, Lenny, you must know that you do the vast majority of speaking. I'm a fairly adept listener, and I often have things to say, but I try not to barge in. Um, and I'd like to, I'd like to say more, at least in certain times, but uh, I don't know. I want to say that I'm really glad that you got an email from Asha. I did not get an email from Asha, but I'm glad that went well and they're going to do it again, because that was a really, really good group of intelligent individuals who were getting together and sharing, and we had some wonderful conversations. Yeah.
we very much did. And it was a group of second order because there were often more than 8 people in the room.
Yep.
And a lot of times somebody would be a presenter, but you could interrupt the presenter with something and ask them questions and that. A,
Yep.
a lot of it is about listening intelligently and not necessarily disagreeing right then and there, but rather listening to what points they made and thinking about it and coming back and continuing the conversation the following time. Because I watched a few videos and I saw how conversations die. And conversations die when somebody comes in and states an opinion and nobody wants to object to it. And so it's one that everybody wants to object to, but nobody wants to be on camera objecting to that particular thing. And so what you get is you get people who use it as a bully pulpit and bash other people around. And you all agree with me, don't you? And when somebody says that, it's like, no, but I don't want to say anything because it would take the whole group off course. Welcome, Harris.
Hey, Harris.
Hello.
Nice to see
Yeah,
you, bro.
same. Tell me,
We
Doc.
had some really, really incredible individuals joining us that came in from the outside uh, when we were, active hedronists. What was the physicist's name who came a couple times?
You're not talking about Richard Allen Miller, are
Not
you?
Richard Allen Miller. I wouldn't even call him a physicist. No, but I mean Richard is, he's an interesting character, and he brought some new, some new interesting blood and ideas to the group. No, I'm thinking about what the devil is his name? I had his name right on the tip of my tongue, and he's been well uh, publicized.
Nassim.
Nassim Harriman, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's gotten rather famous actually, and I'm really glad that we were able to experience Nassim when he was building his line of reasoning and gaining traction in the internet. Um, and of course, now that I'm not active in the group, I don't hear from Nassim anymore. He's a Facebook friend, but I mean, I rarely I rarely, see or connect with them. And there were others. There were others too. I mean, the whole group was a wonderful melange of intelligent, articulate individuals who were able to express themselves intelligently and took care of themselves and etc. You know, it was a really good group, and I wish that I wish I was still in a group like that or still there in Ashlandia. So
That's
anyway,
good. That's good. It's very rare to find good groups that they always, bring about nice ideas and they are in a way inviting. So that resonates with me a lot.
well, it's good to find kindred spirits. I mean, really, it really it dissolves down to something as simplistic as that. That because there aren't that many kindred spirits, for
Mhm.
us. Especially big brains like ours. So anyway, cheers, you guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, Harris, when you came on, you're going to ask me something.
No, I just wanted to ask if everything is okay and how you guys are doing.
Ah, well, I'm on a situation where I run out of minutes about the 20th of the month and have to make it past the 29th, which was yesterday, before I can stream again. So the fact
Mhm.
that I was not streaming last week was just a function that I had used up my streaming time because it also takes the Zoom conversations that I have and the
Yeah.
Skype conversations. And now I've been going into a place called the Vibe Cafe, which is a gather spot. And I'm looking at meeting people that are interested in dealing with bigger issues. And it's a way that I'm going to take the sociochemistry scoring systems, the way of monitoring value of conversations, and I
Mhm.
can open it up to a bigger set of conversations with a lot more people. But so far, the group is tripping over itself, trying to be polite on the one hand and functional on the other hand. And they're going to move from politeness to function once they get comfortable with each other. But I'm not going to move to a bigger group with them because I'm not interested in forming big groups or being part of big groups. I like human scale where you can actually talk to individual people, but I
Mhm.
will let everyone in the bigger group know all the time that if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work for anyone else either. So be judicious with what you accept from a group because if it's not going to work, I'd rather hear it now when the group is forming than later on when we've got hundreds of people and we see that we're off path, we really have to question our knowledge base. I do not think we have it right now, and it's seriously messing with the actions that people are taking at different levels of scale.
Mhm.
But it's a strange world we live in.
I would not want to deal with a group of hundreds of people. I think that would be just a cacophony of of discord, really, because people are so different, and people really are pretty fucking stupid. They really are. As a general rule, people are not paying. People are watching CNN and you know MSNBC and reading the New York Times. They're not getting real solid information. They are being propagandized and brainwashed. And That's who we're dealing with. When you go out into the world, we're dealing with people who are, they took the shot right there. If they took the shot, wow. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it. And let some doctors stick a needle in your arm and pump something into your body that you have no idea what it is. Never mind taking the boosters. And it's becoming more and more obvious now that the vaccine really was a bioweapon and that they really are intent on killing us all off. And that's a bizarre statement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we need to do something about it beyond just chatting here. And
Well,
that's
yeah.
going to take getting people on not necessarily the same page, but on different pages enough to have civil, intelligent conversations,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even debates over things. But right now, you can't say anything that strikes chord with, I'll call them the party of chaos people. There's two parties in the United States, and they're both way off base,
Yeah.
and they are dominating the political reality to a point where we can't even have a valid discussion on political reality.
Well,
And so,
there's a whole segment, a huge segment, not just a segment, a major portion of humanity. Some of them are the woke people, right? But you're not allowed to disagree with them. Their opinion is everything, and you're not allowed to disagree. And if you disagree, you're shoved off to the side. And some of them hate Trump, and some of them even like Biden, which is rather remarkable as far as I'm concerned. Just
it it's all a play.
yeah,
None of it is even worth being on the agenda. But fixing the situation is, and getting out of a system where voting makes a difference has to be a primary thing. I see a lot of people complaining that we might lose our country. Well, damn straight, we need to lose it. It's way too big.
right. And the vote is just a grand fiction.
Yep.
Let's face it, the vote is a fiction. We don't have a vote anymore. We haven't had a vote in quite a while, and we have been systematically brainwashed for well over 100 years by our own government. I mean, you and I grew up, Lenny, in an environment where they constantly or often talked about uh, Soviet propaganda, and nobody is better and engages in more propaganda than the United States government. But they even the Soviet propaganda was propaganda. It was American propaganda, and they just shoved it right up our ass, and we believed them because we were little kids when we got started. And we grew up with that, pledging allegiance to the flag and all. I mean, this country was founded on slavery and genocide. This country.
And marijuana.
What?
And marijuana.
That didn't really get in, become part of the deal until quite a bit.
You don't think Washington and Jefferson were growers?
Yes, they were. Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently they were. Yeah. Right. But I don't think it had much to do with the mainstream. I think that was you know, a recreational activity enjoyed by the.
I don't think any of that history is even close to truthful.
No, I don't either.
I think it was probably created by a fiction author sometime in the 1850s to get to the 1900s, the 1950s to get to now. And if we are following 1950s science fiction in our current reality, we really need to change the talk on AI to iRobot and Asimov stuff and look and see, but I don't. I think that Asimov and Heinlein and some of these other authors were given what to write to project a future that the powers that used to be wanted projected, and
Yeah.
that now it's falling apart because they switched media and they went to television and movies to get the word across. And television has become such unrealistic propaganda anymore that I just can't watch it.
No, I
And
don't even own a
I'm
TV. I
at
don't
the
own a
point
TV.
where I'm having trouble watching YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doc, if you allow me to make a small point there, I think personally I was always very suspicious of everyone that had the title futurist next to its name, to their name. So this ties back to what you said with all those fiction writers, the science fiction ones. They got some of the things quite right, and it makes you wonder how come they actually managed to pull that off, you know. And another thing, like I have a small, not conspiracy theory, personal one, but it's let's say a connection that I made. This year, 2024, in July 21st, if I am not mistaken, it's gonna be the celebration of 55 years after the moon landing.
After the
So
moon landing, which was faked.
55 years though. So
It was fake. It was filmed. It was filmed by Steven Spielberg. I just saw a picture of one of the pictures that NASA refused to have published of
Mhm.
one of the guys, Neil Armstrong, I guess, walking on the moon, and then a
Yeah.
cat walks right in front of him.
Okay, I'm
Walks
not
right in
even
front of him.
debating that, Bruce. I'm not even debating that now. I'm just saying that I'm just pointing my finger to, everything is like cycles. So we've reached this point that something is about to happen because they are gonna celebrate that event or non-event, whatever. And because in the consciousness of the crowd, it took place. Okay. So this year they are gonna celebrate it, and how they are gonna celebrate it. Back then it was the Apollo mission, Apollo 8, and now it's Artemis. And Artemis, symbolically speaking now, from Greek mythology, was the twin sister of Apollo. So they got something going there in terms of symbolic communication, let's say.
Well,
So
these are smart people, Harris. They're not dumb.
yeah,
They
yeah,
pulled off an enormous hoax on all of humanity by staging a quote unquote moon landing. There's no question in my mind that there was never a moon landing. There's another really famous video that you guys may have seen that is just funny as hell, where one of the astronauts is in the dark walking on the lunar surface, and all of a sudden, right behind him, a door opens, and this guy just like he's looking in. He's like looking in, like what the hell is this, right? Just it was just a tourist, I guess, and he invaded the movie set where they were doing the filming, and then of course he backed out and he closed the door. But I mean, it was pretty damned obvious that the whole thing was filmed on a movie set, or some of it was filmed on a movie set. It was filmed in Nevada in the sand.
a couple of days ago, they had an actual the first commercial unmanned airspace, let's say, landing on the moon. NASA gave a private contract to a company called Intelligent Machines, and they live stream, let's say, the whole operation 2-3 days ago. So this ties back to what I was trying to say, that there will be something to celebrate, let's say, that event or non-event this year. So
Yeah. Well, they're going to want to celebrate it because they don't want to. They want to perpetuate the myth that we really have landed on the moon. right? We can't get past the Van Allen radiation belt. That's a big problem. Human beings, would get fried if they went out there like that.
But
They're
back
they're
then,
building in the
back
Venus.
then it yeah, back then it had to do with the space wars, right? With the Soviet Union and the USA. So
Well, the
I think
Soviet Union and the USA could get together and really accomplish something positive instead of trying to start a war with the Soviet Union or Russia now. You
yeah,
know, I mean, these politicians now, these neocons and warmongers are just out of their mind. They're out of their mind. They want to start World War III, which will do us a lot of good, won't it? That's what we need, World War III. Yeah, that's fucking brilliant. I mean, just what we need, World War III. And
Yeah,
they're working on
is that more of a problem than global warming?
it.
I mean, really, look at all the media suddenly focused on global warming this, global warming that. What would happen if you stopped spraying chemtrails?
That would
How
be a
would that
big help,
change the
wouldn't it?
temperature?
Well, I studied climatology when I was in college. Okay, so I'm
But
a,
that's
I'm a lot more educated
yeah,
than
right, which
this
means
man.
you've got further to go to get rid of that education because it was all wrong. But
It wasn't all wrong. I was educated as a scientist. I was educated in geology and climatology and biology, and it wasn't all wrong. It
it
wasn't
just
all wrong,
became
man.
wrong now over time.
What?
It just became wrong now over time.
What do you mean? It just became wrong now over time.
I mean, you look at the nonsense coming out of the medical profession and the biologists, and you expect better. It's obviously a fraud.
Well, that is a fraud. There's no question about it. But it doesn't mean it's all a fraud.
Well, let's get to the idea that maybe human intelligence is in the water, not in the organic structure we call the brain. That would flip everything around.
Well, it's a multicellular process, as you know, and it doesn't happen just in the water. It also happens in the brain because we have water in our brain, and it's a symbiotic relationship with the water and with our brain. But
I have
So,
yeah,
Harris,
go ahead, Harris.
I have something a personal story to share. Always when I used to be younger, I was struggling with severe headaches like migraines, and generally speaking, I am against taking any type of medicine. So the only one exception for me was those Panadols for the headache. Taking a one pill for the headache, let's say, to go away. So over the years, I realized something. Instead of let's say relying on taking those painkillers for the migraines, if I just had like let's say a really hot shower, the migraine will go away. So this works for me at least, but it has to do something. I think maybe it's not only with the water. Maybe it has to do with the steam too. So
Yeah. Well, you know
yeah,
what worked for me was Excedrin, which is acetaminophen, caffeine, and aspirin.
uh-huh.
And when I had a migraine headache, I would take Excedrin. Always took it away. It was like magic. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And I still at times when I'm hungover, I have acetaminophen right here, on my desk, and I'll sometimes take some acetaminophen with my coffee in the morning, and it will help. So anyway, but I agree with you. A hot shower, is just like a steam bath or a sauna.
yeah, yeah,
It's really therapeutic, and I
yeah.
I was doing more of that. I'll tell you.
Doc, what do you think about aspirin? What's your opinion on that one?
I don't take any aspirin at all.
Uh-huh.
I minimize what I take for different things. I can go into a blanked out state in my mind almost by will, just totally turn off, reset, come back out. I used to get severe migraine headaches, and I used something that they took off the market, and nothing they substituted ever worked any better. But it was ergot based, and
It was what?
ergot,
Ergot, okay, yeah, which is a fungus.
yes, which actually they found out was responsible for an entire city of France hallucinating for 4 days in the
Yeah.
1930s
Mm-hmm.
because they had an ergot infection in their wheat, and I would have loved to have been in that city.
Well, and there's a lot of evidence to support the fact that that has happened a number of times in the past, in Europe, for instance, where they had it was either ergot or something else, where it was in the wheat, and and you know entire populations were you know uh, what did you call it? Tripping, you know, hallucinating.
Well, I think now the majority of the population on Earth is hallucinating, and we do not have anything that's workable right now, but we have all the basic parts to create something workable. It's just a matter of how much we want to break it down to build it back. And I think getting it right is more important than getting it done quickly, because the system as it is over, and we all recognize that. But I want to figure out how any single individual can be involved in decision making on any single topic of their own expertise by building a groundswell of information and being able to discuss with other. A lot of people are doing stuff underground that works, but they won't bring it out because you bring out something now and you're either get bought off, threatened, or killed, and it's just not worth it. But there's a lot of good stuff going on, and we really badly need to know how things really work, and we don't have that. Not in the American education system.
Yeah.
So,
Doc, I will give you a small insight that I had from a company called Xerox. They have a research center here in Europe, in France, and at one occasion, let's say about 9 years ago now, we were discussing with another researcher in a joint project, and we were discussing about cognitive systems. And it was a general discussion also about artificial intelligence and all of that, and our expert decision systems, and in general talk about that. And one of the things he told me is that a lot of companies they are spending a lot of money to create the knowledge base, the thing that you are saying now, and they are spending millions and millions. And some other smaller companies, what the startups, let's say back then, what they are actually doing, they realize that they just need to go to the Wikipedia, look into the ontology that connects the different domains of knowledge together, take that because it's open and free, it's open source, let's say, and utilize that to build their knowledge base. So this is something that I was monitoring closely over the last decade, and I've noticed that it actually works. And a lot of all these companies like OpenAI and all of those, like even DeepMind, they are actually did exactly that. They took the ontology from Wikipedia, and that's something we all have access to. So,
Well, most people get their knowledge from the TV, which is a pretty dumb place to rely upon for your knowledge.
I am saying that I'm not saying that Wikipedia is 100 accurate or anything like that. What I'm saying is that it's crowdsourced with thousands of people, and I'm just saying that the knowledge and the ontologies, let's say, from the different connections, that by itself has value. So I'm not talking about the actual content, just the links between the different domains. So
And you're talking about Wikipedia, correct?
yeah,
Okay. All right. All
yeah.
right. I struggle with your accent sometimes, and I'm not getting everything you're saying.
You
Uh,
feel free to ask me again. So
yeah.
it's fine.
Well, yeah. I just try to cipher through it, without being annoying. You're
No,
my
no,
friend. You're my
no.
friend. Okay. I care about you, and so I,
Good.
I just you know,
Thanks,
don't
bro.
ask too many questions. I'll figure it out. I'm fairly bright.
You are. You both are.
Mm,
Well, I see that we've been here for almost an hour now,
yeah.
and I've got some other things to do. I'm playing in a chess tournament tomorrow, weather permitting,
Cool.
but it is snowing right now, and I'm watching it, and I'm
Oh,
thinking if it's going to snow through tomorrow, I'm not getting in a car and going 30 miles to the next town to play in a chess tournament,
where's the
which is
tournament?
it's it's in the next town nearby outside of Etna.
Okay.
One of our club chess players is a high school senior who's putting on a rated tournament as her senior project. And so we're going to have maybe anywhere from 10 to 25 people playing in a USCF rated tournament. It's
Cool.
going to cost me $100 to play because I have to rejoin the Chess Federation.
Oh wow.
But that's okay. I can do that.
That would keep me out.
Mm.
I've got the money, but I mean, I just wouldn't devote it to that, probably. Although I
Doc,
could take part.
yeah. What's your rating, Doc?
I'm not sure what my official rating is because I earned it 40 years ago when I was playing in high school. And right now, I don't have enough games to have built a rating on chess.com. But in the old system, I was a mid 1500s.
That's good. That's great. That's great. That's
I was
great.
never rated. I played
Yeah.
a lot of chess, but I was never rated. Although I played people who were rated and I beat them. So
Yeah.
I just took that as
Being rated just means you played in a rated tournament.
okay.
But
Mhm.
typically, 2000 is considered expert, 2100 is master, and 2200 is grandmaster.
Hmm.
So being mid 1500s meant
That's
that I'm a pretty good player,
yeah, that's
but I'm
respectable.
not at the level of the masters. But I
Right.
can knock off a master in a good game.
Yeah. Sure. I don't
Great,
doubt.
great. All the best, Doc.
Do you
Great.
play chess, Harris?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
basically, I was playing until I realized that it has to do with mnemonics, and you have to study a lot to learn about the previous games. I used to play, solo completely, like putting my brain into each individual game. So yeah, I got a bit disappointed when I figured that one out. To be honest,
I never
yeah.
really enjoyed playing chess online, like chess.com. I mean, I have friends. There's one guy that I know here in town, here in Newport, who plays chess like that online regularly, and is apparently quite a power. You know, he I don't know what his rating is, but I played him, face to face over a real chessboard, and I've beaten him. So, take that with a the proverbial grain of salt. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather not play online. I'd rather play on a real board with a real human being who's sitting across from me, and we could, have a glass together while we're playing chess.
And I'd rather have you gentlemen here in my living room having this conversation.
Yeah,
But this
of
is a
course. I
good
would rather
second
be here too.
effort.
Have it.
And so
Yeah.
we'll see. we'll see.
Well, I'm glad that we can do what we are doing, Lenny. Thank you very much for having this StreamYard channel where we can, the three of us, with the addition of, several people who have come on with us.
Well, we'll pick up Anthony Wall next time. He is Oracle Raven, and he's always here saying thanks and doing stuff. So he is a New Zealander.
Ah, cool. All right.
Cool.
And so figuring out times when we can all get here is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm going to break this conversation off because it's an hour and I've got a Zoom conversation scheduled for later this afternoon. And so we'll see how it works in getting the next size bigger. But if it works out to projections, it's going to be 3 or 4 orders bigger, which is like an order of magnitude. But I do not think it's going to work to those projections because I think that number projections are unrealistic in this day and age. And there's too much artificiality in the counts that people use as a metric, like how many YouTube subscribers you have. But that's what we have as a metric. And so some people have 50,000 YouTube subscribers and 49,000 of them are bots. All right, my friends, take it easy. And for all those of you out there in Streamland, enjoy. We'll be back soon. Dr. Lenny Time in the New Way.